Life swings in the balance of a million quick decisions. Which road you choose to walk down can make all the difference. Like that night in Toronto in the summer of 2007, when Nicole Kish went out drinking with some friends from the States. Traveler kids who'd lived their lives on and off the streets, no strangers to abuse, persecution and wet feet. When Faith Watts approached Ross Hammond and George Stranachak on Queen Street at an ATM just off of Euclid and asked them for some change, Hammond told her to go and be a whore like everyone else on the street. The girl said something back, harsh words were exchanged. The situation escalated until Stranachak threw Douglas Fresh into a storefront window, and he and Hammond walked away. A block further down the street, Fresh confronted them again. Hammond beat the kid unconscious against the side of a streetcar while a crowd began to form, and someone stabbed Ross Hammond with Faith Watts' knife as he kicked her boyfriend's body over and over again. In this crooked old world of pain, we gotta find someone to take the blame. Like Melgard, a Truscott, a Reuben the Hurricane, we gotta find someone to take the blame. In this crooked old world of pain, as Fresh lay crumpled on the ground, another fight broke out. This time Hammond got hold of Watts' knife and with it stabbed Nicole, and two men jumped him from the crowd. Someone shouted, "You die tonight," and Hammond was stabbed again with what seemed like a different knife. He was given the wound that killed him by someone in the crowd who was never identified. But when he died 2 days later, Nicole Kish was charged with murder, and plenty of witnesses came forward, but not one of them said they saw her do anything but stand there. And in the 4 years that it took for her case to come to trial, not one but two surveillance tapes from nearby businesses were lost by the Toronto police. Her friends were all deported while the public rose in anger as they swallowed the version of the Panhandler murder that the papers reproduced, where two gentlemen were attacked by a gang of ruthless punks, but leaving out the section where they started the fight themselves and beat one kid half to death, left him bleeding on the ground. When the hammer finally came down, despite the missing evidence, no positive ID, the big holes in the story, a court of law somehow determined that Nicole Kish was the killer and cast her into prison for second-degree murder. In this crooked old world of pain, we gotta find someone to take the blame. Like Melgard, a Truscott, a Reuben the Hurricane, we gotta find someone to take the blame. In this crooked old world of pain. Nicole Kish is a songwriter, a traveler, and an artist. She started her own magazine to promote local writers, while Stranachak and Hammond sold pornography online, but were described as internet marketers in every press report about the Panhandler murder, where it seemed as though a street kid had stabbed an upstanding citizen at an ATM on Queen Street after he politely refused to give her money to buy booze. An open and shut case, except that no one saw her do it, and she never asked them for money. The so-called victim started the fight, and DNA tests were done. It turned up nothing but a single trace of blood on the bottom of Nikki's shoe. But there was another man there with stab wounds caught on tape right after the fight. And when the cops arrived, he vanished to somewhere in Toronto. But none of this made any difference in the eyes of the press, who already had their killer, or in the court of Justice Nordheimer, who called the evidence circumstantial, but sentenced Nikki to life in prison for second-degree murder. Wrongful convictions happen far more than you'd think, most victims serving longer sentences than those who admit guilt, because it's hard to show remorse or be rehabilitated for something you didn't do in the first place. In this crooked old world of pain, we gotta find someone to take the blame. Like Melgard, a Truscott, a Reuben the Hurricane, we gotta find someone to take the blame. In this crooked old world of pain. If you think there's no more class war, then explain how this can happen. While the man who pushed a street kid named Ariana Simpson in front of a Victoria City bus in the winter of 2009 was given a 1-year sentence. A tragic accident, they said, so he got manslaughter instead, despite witnesses who saw him push her straight under the wheels, reinforcing the knowledge that murder's not really murder if your victim is a street kid, a prostitute, a peasant, not white or just plain poor. Rest assured, no one will look too hard for 50 missing women from East Vancouver. But if a millionaire's son gets kidnapped, the whole city goes into shock. 200 cops are on the case, non-stop coverage in the press, and the city doesn't rest until he's found. And Hemingway said the world's a fine place, worth fighting for. Just don't get caught standing in the wrong place or on the wrong side of the road. Like that night in Toronto in the summer of 2007, when Nicole Kish went out drinking with some friends. In this crooked old world of pain, we gotta find someone to take the blame. Like Melgard, a Truscott, a Reuben the Hurricane, we gotta find someone to take the blame. In this crooked old world of pain, in this crooked old world of pain, in this crooked old world of pain, in this crooked old world.